Welcome back, people, to episode 11. Well into double figures now. Well, one into double figures. But anyway, episode 11 of the Living Room Chat podcast. Ryan Bloomfield, Matt Barrell, my friend. How are you today?
It's all good in the hood, as they say.
It's weird recording on a Monday, isn't it?
Monday, like fresh into the week, straight into it. I quite like doing it on a Friday. It's kind of like an end. It's become a bit of an end of the week.
My Fridays are great. So obviously I've got my network meeting in the morning, 6:30 at Green Park. Lovely stuff.
So early.
Then come straight here to do the pod. And then normally, like 12 o'clock on a Friday, I'm pretty much done. Like, got a few calls to make, but I try not to do too many things on Friday.
Yeah.
Because when you're probably the same, when you work like every single day, Saturday and Sundays, you just need that bit of time where you're just free. Yeah,
I like having Friday evenings to chill.
Yes.
And then usually on a Saturday, I'll try and do viewings from 12 until 4 is kind of my Saturday viewings, but then sometimes it's earlier.
So I fucked up basically on Saturday. I had a 9 o'clock viewing, then a 9:45, and then I supposed to have a couple more appointments midday, which cancelled. So my next appointment wasn't until 4:30. So I had a 9 o'clock and a 4:30.
Yeah.
So I ended up working. So I left my house at 8:30, and technically got home from my last viewing at about 6 because it was a big house. It was a long day, even though I didn't hardly do anything else during the day. Like, went for a bike ride with Myla and various. Went to the shop. But I felt like I worked all day, even though I actually only did 2 appointments.
Yeah, that's the trouble. And one thing I do need to remember to do on Friday is to call all of my Saturday appointments.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes I call them on a Saturday morning, they won't answer and then they don't show up.
Yeah. No, you've got to call the day before. Yeah. Always call the day before.
Anyway.
Said in unison. God, mate, we're literally like in sync now, aren't we?
Does that lead you to a segue or what?
In Sync, NSYNC are a band, and I want to talk about music with you. Segue,
not about NSYNC though, surely.
Not about NSYNC.
Justin Timberlake, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. We're not talking about that. No, I've got a few things I wanted to run through. We'll keep it light-hearted and fluffy, but we can start with the first topic. In fact, we'll start with a nice, light-hearted and fluffy topic, and I've already kind of shared it with you a little bit. But do you have a nickname?
No, I don't have a nickname, I suppose. I've always been Matt since like as long as I can remember.
I suppose Matt's not really like you don't really need a nickname for it. But Matt's Matt, isn't there?
No, I worked at a pub once and got the nickname when I was one of my first jobs. So I got the nickname Wheel because they thought my surname was Barrow, so they called me Wheel. And that stuck, to be fair, and I was working there for probably 18 months.
So they called you Will?
Yeah, it's Will.
Okay, cool, all right. So I had a guy that I knew growing up. He was a mate of a mate. He was a good lad, to be fair. Anyway, his name was James.
Yeah.
And he came from a nice upbringing. He was quite well spoken, and everyone was like really cool. And he's like, I just don't like the name James. I want something like a cool nickname. Something a bit different, something like, I don't know, he said like cheese. Obviously not cheese, that's stupid, but something like that. And everyone goes, cool, that's your nickname, cheese. And he went, no, not cheese, something different. So forever, he's been known it for 20 years now, he's still
and it's stuck.
Stuck forever, yeah.
That's so funny.
Like, people, when I first met him, my mate Jazz said, we're going to meet Cheese. I was like, okay, cool, nice one. I was like, hi mate, nice to meet you. I was obviously like 15 at the time. He's like, hi, I'm James. He's like, oh, sorry, yeah, Cheese. Everyone calls me Cheese. And he's fully involved in that. He's got a tattoo on his leg. It says, "It ain't easy being cheesy." Anyway,
that's what happens though when you try and give yourself a nickname. It doesn't work. Nicknames have to come from other people.
So what sparked this? And I've fucking crap me up, mate. Lad Bible, obviously the best thing ever on social media. They basically asked the internet for their favourite nicknames and from friends, and people were obviously wrote in what they said. So I want to tell you a couple of them because they're quite funny. I'll try and keep a straight face for the audio so we can actually tell them and everyone can laugh along with us. But there's 3 or 4 that just crack me up. So the first one, my mate used to work with a fella called Keith. He had a missing eye. They called him Kef. I used to be a cop. One of the other cops was really small, so we called him Laptop, as he was a small PC. But one of my personal favourites, here we go. There's a guy at work with one leg shorter than the other. The lads call him Sniper's Nightmare. But the absolute best one, I know a guy who's an electrician. One of the old boys he works with is about 70 years old. They call him Jurassic Spark. But anyway, it just cracked me up, and I love little light-hearted stuff like that to start the podcast. But they're just funny.
Yeah, nicknames are great. We all know, like I've got a mate who's just, everyone he knows just has an abbreviated surname.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you'd be Bloomy.
Yeah, so that's what I'm Bloomers or Bloomy, people call me. In fact, only Ian calls me Bloomy these days because it was an old previous company thing.
Yeah, Ian calls me Barrell, I think, as well. Yeah, it's just a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go by the surname.
Ian just basically calls you by your surname and just adds an A or a Y on the end. Because he's Macca, isn't he?
Right, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he's like...
Surnames are great. It reminds me of a Jimmy Carr joke where he goes, I've got a friend, their nickname's Shagger. You might be thinking, that's pretty cool. She doesn't like it.
Cool. Right, okay. So that's lighting the mood to show that we're generally funny and just not that serious.
We're laid back guys.
I did want to jump into I personally wouldn't call it a serious subject, but for a lot of people, if you get it wrong, it can be very serious. So I'm talking about Sam Smith, the interview on the One Show, where he referred to fisher people, or fisherman, as Fisherthem.
You haven't realised you've done it, you've just done a segue then from me making that joke.
Yes,
he and she.
did. Oh, no, I knew I did it, mate. You didn't have to drop it. They didn't have to say that, because obviously that now makes it like we don't know what we're doing. That was purposely done. Anyway, cool. So Fisherthem. So it got me thinking about the topic of he, she, they, them, it, penguin, wolf, whatever you want to, call yourself. What is your views, Matt? And be honest, I don't want anyone sitting on the fence in this conversation.
It's another one of those topics where it doesn't impact me in any way. And
fence sitter.
I have to remind myself of stuff like this. Things can exist in the world that I don't necessarily buy into, and they can exist, and it doesn't impact me. That said, it's fucking annoying, isn't it?
It is, mate. It is. Like I think it's on LinkedIn. You can put your pronouns.
Yeah, you can on
thing.
Instagram as well.
Like, oh my god. Anyway, so I think Sam Smith is one of the biggest tools out there.
But he wasn't always like this, was he?
No. He used to be a he. Sorry, they used to be a he. Like, I just don't fucking get it. Like, he wore that massive outfit to the Brits.
Yeah.
It just looks stupid. He's just an attention-seeking twat.
And the outfit of the Brits was just silly, but then people have been wearing silly outfits to award shows for ages. Do you think there's a part of it where he's got a publicist or a marketing team going, look, Sam, there's a big demographic here.
Yeah.
If you feel this way inclined, why don't you lean into it?
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise. I mean, obviously. So my view, talk about you sitting on the fence. I'm probably going to sit on the fence a little bit here as well. I categorically only believe there are male or female.
Controversial.
Controversial, I know. I only believe there's a male. You are genetically a male or you're genetically a female. If you want to change and get your balls chopped off or grow tits, whatever, that is absolutely your prerogative. And then I would call, like, if a man changed to a woman, I would then call her a she. What I would not do is call them a them or something else. I just think it's bollocks. That said, that's my opinion. So I will only ever refer to someone as a man or a woman. But if it improves their life and their state of mind by them referring to themselves as them, and it makes them feel better in themselves, crack on. Like, I have no problem with it at all. Just, you can't expect everyone else to follow the same belief as you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think live and let live.
Yeah. Just don't get arsy about it.
But I personally agree that we have males and females. I believe in science and I believe in the evolution of the world, and that.
And it was there for thousands of years until the last 25 years or 20 years when suddenly things have changed.
I do get, like, if people do feel, like they want to change or dress differently or whatever, fine.
Yeah.
I think it's the imposing you must call me this.
Yeah.
It's funny, we were talking about nicknames a second ago.
Yeah,
you don't get to choose your nickname, it's put on you.
Yeah.
You didn't get to choose the name Ryan. I didn't get to choose the name Matthew.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know...
That's what we're given.
It's what
it's
it
the cards
is,
we're dealt, isn't it?
You know? So I think it's all a bit silly. The Sam Smith clip as well, when he was like, "Oh, I just want to go on a boat and be a Fisherthem," and he kind of smiled as he said it.
Yeah, well, because the lady in the interview, I can't remember her name, the Welsh one, she said fisherman, right, and then he went Fisherthem.
But what annoyed me about the clip is he obviously hasn't thought about this doing fishing. What kind of Fisherthem would you like to be, Sam? Or don't know, just want to go on a boat and do some fishing.
Just be a
Fisherthem.
Fisherthem.
You haven't thought about it, haven't given any actual thought into it. You're just trying to make a point.
But he nearly caught himself out. Mate, that would be funny. Imagine if he accidentally referred to someone as a man or a woman.
Yeah.
Mate, internet would go wild. Prejudice and, you know, hypocritical.
I saw a video from Dapper Laughs. Do you know Dapper Laughs?
Yeah, I do know
He was
Dapper
just
Laughs,
taking the mick out of the Sam Smith thing, saying talking about Manchester United. Oh, Themchester United.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. That was good. Piers Morgan jumped in, and obviously he loves that shit. Yeah, you know, he just scrolling for stories that are going to get people's backs up, and he's like, bang! Now I'm going to have my say on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for him. I don't mind it. It's quite funny. Yeah. So yeah, that was. I thought it was quite interesting. Have you heard of a drag queen social media star called Jeffree Star?
I haven't, believe it or not.
That's fine. That's cool. Reason, and I'm going somewhere with this. Okay, so he is he's a drag queen. He's an outright gay man. Happily talks about it, and he had quite a fire interview where he put some points across and has left him in hot water because he was saying exactly what we've just said. You are male or you are female. Yeah, that is it. There's nowhere in between. What I found quite funny though is he said all of this other pronouns that have come about. He just said basically that it came from COVID where people were just bored and wanted to get a bit of attention and just made shit up. And that's how it's come about. I don't really agree with it, but it's quite a funny take on it.
It's an interesting point, and I think it's kind of alluding to, you know, if you have too much time on your hands and spend too much time on the internet, you can end up in all sorts of places.
You literally can, can't you?
But even like, you know, the world's been moving into a more woke direction, I think, all the time, hasn't it?
It's getting wokier and wokier by the day.
You know Jordan Peterson?
Yes. Yeah, he's the guy who comes across a bit of a misogynist, but he's actually not. He's just talking sense.
Yeah, I think, again, someone with probably quite divisive opinions.
Yes.
But he
doesn't... Sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
Well, he came about because he spoke up. He came to fame because he spoke up against a bill that was being passed in Canada about legislating against you have to call someone by their chosen pronouns. And his point was like, that's legislating free speech.
Mm-hmm. Which is valid,
is. So that's how he became, I think this was in 2016, 2017, that sort of time.
He's been, because he's a very obviously intelligent guy, isn't he? And he just, the way he says, the way he talks, I love how he delivers stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't totally agree with some of his points, but the way he delivers it, it's great. I
think it's nice having somebody that well educated with such a high profile.
Yeah, I agree.
I think most media people are not educated.
You wouldn't call him charismatic, would you? Like, he's very one-dimensional. The way he speaks, it's just matter of fact, to the point, and clear. But he doesn't use his hand. He doesn't gesture. His vocal pattern doesn't change. Whereas a lot of people you see on TV, they're all over the place, and they're just quite electric. Whereas he's very one-dimensional. Yeah, which is part of his part of the charm probably around him, that people like watching him or radiate with what he says. He's
become one of these like media figures, I think, which are dividing opinions. But anyway,
there we go. Well, we just divided opinions potentially, but obviously, as always, if you've got any comments, likes or dislikes, or want to argue our points, feel free to do. We're up for a healthy debate and negotiation on any topic. As I said, we've said in previous podcasts, none of us are experts in anything, but what we are valid to is give our opinion, and it can't be right or wrong because it's an opinion.
And I'm always interested to hear the other side of the coin, the other side of the argument.
And
I'm always open to changing my mind, as you well know.
Yeah.
And it's, I suppose, thinking of the other side of a coin, it's like if somebody wants to be called by a certain pronoun, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but if I accidentally called them a he, I wouldn't expect them to turn around and say, oi, that really offended me. I'm like, cool, well, I didn't mean it.
And it's the thing that for me is confusing is there's obviously more going on here. Like when you look at, for example, the chances of someone having green or purple or silly coloured hair who also identifies differently is really high. What's the correlation there? Do you know what I mean?
They're a bit weird. You just chuck it out there, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Strange individuals.
So
that's cool.
I noticed these patterns.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, what's going on here?
So basically, if you see someone with crazy coloured hair and like maybe tattoos, I think tattoos on their arms. I mean, and yeah, I know I've got tattoos, but I've definitely not got bright coloured hair. Hair is a problem for me, but the colour isn't. Yeah, I know. Yeah, there is a lot of things that correlate directly to. There's more chance of them being that way inclined.
Yeah.
To be a bit different with their pronouns by the way you just see them, the dress.
Seems all my experience with people who have gender, there's usually some kind of bad relationship with the parents.
So, yeah. Okay, we're going there. That's an interesting dive. Yeah.
Like I'm just saying what I've observed, and do you know what I mean?
So basically, Matt Barrell's top tip is if you see someone with different colour hair, when you introduce yourself, ask them, and what pronoun should I call you by? Because there's a high chance it's not going to be a he or a she.
The hair colour is a nice indicate. It's an alarm for you to potentially ask the pronouns question.
No, it's not funny. It's not funny. This is serious stuff.
Yeah.
Last thing on this. Did you see the video where there's a girl or a they, I don't know what they refer to, but she was listing off they. This is fucking difficult, isn't it? Fuck me. She was listing off her pronouns, and she's listing, and then she's got a cat sat by her, and then the cat whacks her in the face as she's talking. Have you seen that?
No.
Let's find a clip, stick it on the screen, and end that segment on that, yeah?
Hi, my name is Erin. I use she, her pronouns, and I am
So, you are a musician.
Yes.
We try to be.
No,
I've seen you. I've heard your band on Spotify.
I don't know where the line is where you become a musician or not a musician.
I think you're always a musician. Like, if you pick up an instrument, you're a musician. Maybe not a talented one.
No.
But that's the definition. If you play an instrument, you're a musician.
Yeah.
Anyway,
enough. Yeah.
That's a long, rambly old intro, wasn't it? So you're a musician. You play guitar. Do you sing? Not really. Backup vocals.
Yeah.
Few oohs, few ahs.
Give me a microphone, but turn it off.
Yeah. And I love music. I play guitar. I haven't done for a long time, but I did play guitar. I like to sing in the car and in the shower.
So you're a musician. Where are you going with this?
Where I'm going with this is we're now into episode 11 and we've never talked about music together when it's clearly a massive part of both of our lives.
Let's do it. We did talk about my band before though, going on tour later this year. Link below.
Oh mate, can I come along?
Yeah, I think we'll do Purple Turtle in Reading.
Oh, brilliant. I'll be there. Front row. Woohoo. You got VIP tickets and stuff?
It's Purple Turtle, mate. Don't get VIP tickets in Purple Turtle.
Right, where are we going with this? Linkin Park released a new song recently called Lost. You've heard it, obviously.
Yep.
Because I played it for you about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, before that, I heard it.
I wasn't going to say that, but I did. So, released their song Lost, and I love the backstory on it. So, Mike Shinoda, the
other singer.
The other singer from Linkin Park.
The rapper guy,
yeah. He basically said it hasn't been remastered, it hasn't been edited. This was the song they recorded for the album Meteora back in 2003.
Wow.
It's never been changed. They didn't put it on the album because it had too much of a similar vibe to Numb. And they put obviously arguably one of their greatest ever hits.
Soundtrack to my 2003.
There you go. So Numb went on the album rather than Lost. But because it's 20 years since Meteora was released, that makes us feel old, doesn't it?
20 years ago.
They released it out. So, and what I love about it, and kind of the wider topic I wanted to go on to, And we mentioned it before, but your first album was
Hybrid Theory, Linkin Park.
Yeah, so that was like 2000 wasn't it? Hybrid Theory came out. Mine was Eminem of the State by Blink-182, but punk rock flows through my veins. In fact, I'm more like the genre I listen to now is called post-hardcore.
Yeah, you told me this before.
Yeah, it's on the limit, just for people that haven't heard me say that before. When it's heavy metal and the limit is screaming and it's just on that brink where it's going to scream but it doesn't scream. As soon as it screams, it loses me.
Yeah.
Screamer. I don't mind a little bit in the song, but it just loses me a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. Linkin Park were massive when I grew up. Like, a huge part of my life from when I started listening to music around 10, 11 years old with Hybrid Theory, then Meteora, and they're all subsequent albums after that. One More Light, which obviously is the album that was the last one they officially released before Chester passed away. That still now is one of my all-time favourite albums. I absolutely love it. Every song on it. There's not a single bad song on that album. Same as Meteora. But it really affected me when he died. Like, I've seen famous people die all the time and it's sad, but because that was such a big part of my life, Linkin Park, when he did pass away 6 years ago now, it really had a profound effect on me, like genuinely. And then releasing this song now and hearing him again, it's like he's like still alive. And I've obviously never met him. He's a global superstar, was a global superstar, but it just made me quite sad, but quite reflective at the same time.
It's interesting, isn't it, how someone you've never met
Can have that much
develop
impact.
a kind of almost like a one-way rapport based on the songs and everything you know about the band, and then when something like that happens, it's interesting what it does. I'm trying to think of whenever I've had that feeling with like someone famous who's died, but I know like my dad's favourite actor was James Stewart. My middle name is James after the actor.
Okay.
And like we went to his grave in California.
Wow.
And just my dad was so obviously never met the guy, but was, you know, really invested in his career and his who he was as a person. It's strange how
it's funny, isn't it? Like how it affects different people, because I think music, film's probably similar, but music, it's so emotive for a lot. It means so much to so many people. Like I have vivid memories. I listened to "Pushing Me Away" by Linkin Park on Hybrid Theory. I think it was track 12 from memory, or it might be 14 actually. Anyway, I have a vivid memory of being I don't even know who they are, but a vivid memory of being at someone's house in the New Forest. I think it was family friends, and I remember listening to it on the car on the way there. I have every time that song comes on, I remember that moment.
Do you have a CD Walkman or a tape?
No, the CD Walkman, yeah.
Nice.
No, it wasn't tape, obviously. But it's amazing, isn't it? So I thought I'd open it up because obviously that I don't want to get onto the suicide route of what happened to Chester. It's obviously extremely sad.
So sad.
But the point I wanted to get across and what I love about music is people live on. Like I listen to Linkin Park probably at least once a week. At least like one of their tracks will come on at least once a week. And it's amazing. Like their whole legacy, their life lives on. Yeah,
that's what's so cool, isn't it, about music and media in general, is it does live on. And
it's better. Yeah. Like I wish, like you look at social media now, and you can be famous for 5 minutes, and then your TikTok dies and you're gone. Like your viral TikToks.
Yeah,
it's like 5 minutes. Not even that. A day of fame. 3 million views on TikTok. But if you like when your band songs, your band's obviously comes up on my playlist now. I've got a few of your songs on there.
Cheers, mate. Maybe I get some royalties from that.
Yeah. No, but generally, you create a piece of art like music, and it's there forever.
That's what's cool though about the internet, I think, is that even stuff that we put out, our great grandkids could see that.
Yeah.
Which isn't that cool?
It is cool. Yeah.
So my great grandfather had a radio show on BBC Oxford.
Yeah.
And I've got like 3 episodes of it.
Oh, really?
He died 4 years before I was born, but it was really cool, like being able to listen to that and just hear how he talked. And I've obviously heard stories, but back in the day, you don't exactly have video cameras and stuff. So
I think music's one of those things that it just and radio is similar, but it would change, wouldn't it? Films change. Like you look back at iconic films from the 50s and 60s, I wouldn't watch them because they're black and white, and it's really just the effects are terrible. Like, why would you watch them? Things move on so quick.
Yeah,
music's different because music can't change too much because it's just what you hear.
Yeah,
obviously, the way the genres move on, but Queen in the 70s and 80s, Queen. 70s.
Yeah, I think Freddie Mercury died in the 90s.
He was early 90s, yeah. And then you go back before then, you've got the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like their music, you still listen to that now.
It lives on.
60 years on.
Yeah.
That's what's cool about it. And what I really hope is there'll be some like 14, 15-year-old... Well, you would expect they would have heard of Linkin Park, but you may not have. And then that song comes up on Spotify, Lost by Linkin Park. And like, who the fuck is Linkin Park?
Yeah.
And then they just dive in and they just don't know what they're opening a door into because they've got... Some of their albums were a little bit average, but 8 or 9 albums to go back on through. And you can just absorb yourself in it.
Yeah, I love it. They're a great band as well. I used to love older music when I was younger as well. I don't have a bias really between new or old music anymore.
Yeah.
But
so your top 3 bands growing, like, let's say when you got into music between the ages, like early teens, 13, 14, who are your 3 go-to bands? Can you remember?
So my favourite bands that age would have been Guns N' Roses, Jimi Hendrix.
Wow.
And
God, you are a guitarist, aren't you?
Yeah, they were the 2 ones I was listening to all the time.
There's too many to narrow down to 3. I would have been probably Sum 41, Blink 182, Linkin Park, but then there was also Green Day, Good Charlotte. Remember Good Charlotte?
Yeah, I love Good Charlotte.
Good Charlotte, wait, they were good.
Lifestyles of a Rich and
Famous. Yeah. That was brilliant. Yeah, them. Bowling for Soup. Love Bowling for Soup as well.
Yeah, I saw them.
So that era of that punk rock era from like the early 2000s, I think was just so good.
It's funny, mate.
The Offspring.
Yeah, Offspring.
Had all their albums.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
What was their album with like the flame face on it in the front?
Conspiracy of One.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
The flame face. That's probably not.
Yeah. And their first album was called Americana. For audio listeners and for visual listeners, that generally came off the top of the dome. We're not even researching that before. This is just love of music.
Yeah, it's good actually. Music chat. I can't believe we haven't done it before.
We should have a segment. Music chat, agency chat. What you've been watching?
We
could generally do, like, rather than what you've been watching, we'll do what you've been listening to.
Well, we could do either or, right?
No, I love what you've been watching. In fact, to be fair, we're basically copying another podcast that I listen to. They do what you've been listening as well. I didn't think we'd ever bring it in. But anyway, they don't do it every episode. I think we should do that. Favourite song from the week, and we play it. And they actually have a Spotify playlist, and they upload the songs onto that.
Oh,
we could do that. We could have a joint playlist that we put out there.
Yeah,
it's called the Living Room Chat Podcast.
All I listen to now is country music.
That's fine. I'm up for a bit of country. Do you listen to country music?
Love it, mate.
Can't
get enough of that.
Listen to hardcore heavy metal.
Yeah.
Post hardcore is what's called.
I wouldn't have you down as like pop punk and like heavy tunes.
It's a bit of me, that is. It's a bit of me. Yeah, what you like? It's good to know different things, isn't it?
It's good to expand the palette and
pop down the road of pop, like One Direction, Sam Smith, if you call it that. Fucking hate it. I can't. I just hate it.
Speaking of woke stuff, like we were a minute ago, I saw a funny TikTok the other day that was saying there'd been complaints. There'd be complaints about the song "Baby It's Cold Outside" for being misogynist or whatever it was. You know the song, right?
Yeah.
And then it was saying complaints about that at the same time that WAP was number 1 in the charts. And this comedian just reads out the lyrics to "Baby It's Cold Outside" and then the lyrics to WAP. I won't spell the acronym out, but
I know. Yeah, I got it.
That was a perfect example of just how silly the world is in some ways.
Absolutely, mate. Talking of silly world, should we move on to some agency chat?
Silly world of a state agency.
Silly world of a state agency.
And it's not a silly world. You know, I feel really passionately about what we're doing with our businesses and just the self-employed movement in the UK in general. I think is so positive, whichever brand you associate yourself with. But a few instances recently have just made me so aware that the way other agents operate is just so unethical.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe it. It's just unethical.
You couldn't even put it down to shit standards. It's just they're douchebags.
And I don't think personally, leave a comment if you disagree, it's not something that regulation is going to change.
No, you can't.
Necessarily.
Yeah.
There's one example last week where I met with a client, or I met with a homeowner after she'd met with 2 other agents from the high street. And we got talking about the advice she'd been given by them. And it was just terrible.
Yeah.
It's just so clear that my valuation was one price. She'd be given a valuation like
significantly higher.
far above. Because this, unfortunately, she overpaid for the property.
Right, okay.
And that's obviously public information.
Yeah.
So agents with sales targets are going in there, giving her the...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you haven't lost money. We try and break even. Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of went in and gave my take on it, whatever. But it's just, so now that homeowner is going to go on a journey. If it doesn't come on with me, they're going to go on a journey of 3 or 4 months to discover
that she's been lied to.
But they've been lied to. Yeah. And it's...
Is it they or she?
I didn't ask, to be fair.
No, you are absolutely right, and we touched on it in the last episode with Sandy, didn't we? It's just overvaluing properties is one of the biggest things, and that's what gives estate agents bad names, because it is underhand, sleazy. But like, I was there, I've done it, I've got the T-shirt. You overvalue a property, you get it on the market. 2 weeks are out of their calling off period. You're going to then, someone wants to buy it, price down, blame the market, get them on side. They can't go anywhere because they're stuck into a contract. Before you know it, it's been reduced 3 times, and then it sells. Yeah. They're getting their commission. Doesn't make a difference to them. So I agree with you there. Like, it's just, there's a lot of bad practices out there at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's just, and I think the great thing about self-employed model is the bigger that gets, the more things will change.
The better standard on the survey. Like, obviously we're doing what we do to make a living for ourselves and support our family, of course, but we are changing an industry here.
100%.
We're creating a better position for better people, better property professionals, to change the way people associate with estate agents.
And it's accountability, that's the main thing. Because for me, if I take the property on for too much money, that's my problem to deal with. Yeah. It's not like you take on for too much money and hand it to another member of staff to deal with. Yeah. It's our problem. Yeah. So I think the bigger the self-employed model grows, the more accountable the agent will be to do the right thing.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
So that's just a bit of a rant I wanted to get off my chest.
Fine. Well, I wanted to... I've got a bit of agency chat to talk about, and it's kind of a follow-up. Anyone who's listened to the previous episodes, they'll know about the issue I had with a survey a couple of weeks ago. So I wanted to... Because that's all concluded now, so I feel like I can talk about it. And unlike most estate agents promoting the fact they always make success stories happen and all that sort of thing, it didn't go down well. The sale's fallen through.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens, right?
But it could have been avoided, in my opinion. So this is a twofold segment here. 1, what happened. 2, what should have happened. And it's the buyers that messed up.
It's good to be able to look back and...
Yeah. So obviously had the survey done. Issues came up. Still to this day, 5 weeks later now, I still have never seen a copy of that survey report. And they never sent it.
And just for clarity, the buyers did the survey months into the transaction.
Like 2 weeks before we were supposed to exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like month 4 of the transaction. So that's the first thing, get the surveys done early on. And I have changed the way I deal with it now. I do chase people up for surveys in the first 2 weeks to make sure they're getting one done. If they're not getting one done, cool. But
you ask the question.
Yeah. So they had a handyman go round, and there was extensive work that came back to the tune of about £15,000. It's not that bad.
A handyman?
Builders.
Right.
Builders. But they were there, and I kind of said this to the buyers, they're there quoting for the work you've asked them to quote for. They're not advising you whether it needs doing or not. So stuff like, we talked about it before, but removing the moss from the roof, fixing the fence is not broken, replacing the garage roof that was replaced 3 years ago. Yeah, literally. Anyway, they held on to this. They had this information on the Monday. They didn't tell me till the Friday of exactly what they were looking for. The issue I had, and I thought about it afterwards, these are first-time buyers. This is the first house they've ever offered on. This is the first time they've ever had to negotiate a price.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't confide in me. They wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't ask my advice on how to help, because I think they felt, based on what the surveyor said and probably what their friends and family told them, that I work for the seller. Whilst that is true, and obviously I would work for my seller because that's my job, I've negotiated on hundreds of renegotiations of properties, hundreds of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I know how the process works. I know how to influence, manipulate, whatever way you want to call it. I know how to frame things correctly.
Mm-hmm.
What they decided to do, in all their wisdom from the one negotiation they've ever had, which is this one, they wrote a long-ass letter, very well-written letter to be fair, justifying all of their actions and why they wanted to reduce by £30,000. Cool. So I read through that and I thought, like, what have they done here? Because the moment I send that to the seller, they're gonna be so angry, like they're just gonna blow any chance of negotiations.
Absolutely.
So I spoke to the sellers. I said, look, they've sent me a letter. I'll send it to you, but just take it with a pinch of salt. Yeah. This is just them being naive, and I will try and deal with it. So I sent it to the sellers as they asked me. It was addressed to the sellers as well. It wasn't just to me. It was to the sellers as well. So it is their copy, along with a copy of the works that needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And
what was the works price in the end?
15 grand plus VAT.
Right. And
so the justification was the works was one side of the thing. The boiler was advised that may need to be replaced in the next 5 years. So that was another 3 grand they wanted to reduce. No. The change in the market, they sent me like links from houses that had sold a year ago in the same road. Again, just relevant. And then they talked about the house prices dropping over the last few months since they made their offer, which I can understand that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they went about it the wrong way. Sent it to the sellers. Obviously, they were fucked off.
Yeah.
So they just said, no, we'll give them 2 grand on completion. That's it. Or it goes back on market.
Yeah.
So this negotiation went on for 2 days, 3 days maybe. I got the buyers up from 262. So they reduced 30 grand, 262, all the way up to 280. And the sellers still, quite rightly, it's their decision, they wouldn't take the offer because of how it's happened over the last few months, or a few weeks, sorry.
Sorry, it was 280 on the market?
And it was on for 290.
Yeah.
They bought it for just a couple of grand over the asking price. This buyer's original offer was 2 grand over the asking price.
Right.
They reduced their price by 30 grand to 262.
Yeah.
I then negotiated them all the way back up to 280. So now they're 12 grand off. The problem they had is, because he said, when they obviously came back and said no, point blank, the buyers were like, well, that was just our opening negotiation.
Yeah.
And this is where I said to them, look, if you just spoke to me and listened to what I had to say and offered my advice, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'll get it sorted. If they'd come in at 275, not taking the piss, and got up to 280, probably sellers could have considered it.
Yeah.
Still 10 grand, but
it's 10 grand, but perhaps the market has changed. Perhaps
but you can reason with that. Perhaps
you would, as someone who's doing this every day, and the sellers might understand the market has changed. These things have come up in the survey.
Yeah.
292 to 280 is not the same as 292 to 262.
But the buyers kept saying to me, but we've come up 18 grand now. And I'm like, let me rephrase that. You haven't. You're down. You've reduced by 12 grand now.
Yeah, from the imaginary number they came back with.
So, So anyway, sale fell through. Sellers were like, no, I'm not interested. Buyers were like, well, we're not going to go up anymore. They shot themselves in the foot massively.
And now they've got to go through the expense of finding another house, submitting another mortgage application, paying 700 quid for another survey, and all of that.
The thing that the irony was, it wasn't even bad.
No.
Like, it wasn't bad. If they I feel that they've obviously got the wrong information from people. The surveyor, first of all, telling them not to send the survey report. I have a right mind of going to that surveyor saying, what the fuck is your problem? Like, why would you tell a buyer not to send the survey report to an estate agent when we're massively involved in whether they get the property or not?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? I've been in the business for 35 years, apparently. Cool. I don't give a fuck how long he's been here. He's a cunt.
It's just so unhelpful, isn't it? And the survey reports are so, a 700 quid survey, a 300 quid survey is not even worth bothering with, in my opinion.
No.
If you get it's a level 2, it's about 700
buyers,
quid, isn't it? Yeah. that still leaves a lot of inspecting to be done.
Yeah.
And like, I've had surveys where on big transactions, a buyer will pay £2,000 for a survey to dig below and see what's built on, because they've got big plans for it. You know, is it clay or is it soil and sand?
Which is fine.
And that's like important stuff you need to know.
Yeah.
But a £700 survey isn't going to tell you what.
No, of course it's not.
It's only going to give you a surface level amount of information. And as we said before, if you do a survey and you're looking for reasons not to buy it, you will certainly find one.
There we go. So, in conclusion, finalise my point. This is for a reel. I'm going to turn this into a reel in a bit. Estate agents are there to help both parties conclude the transaction. Yes, on paper, of course, we work for the seller. That's who pays our bills. But without the buyer, we don't get paid. So, the best advice I can give people is work closely with your estate agent. Use them for their advice and help and guidance, because you are all on the same team. Buyer, seller, estate agent, solicitor, sometimes not solicitors. You're all on the same team. You're all working in exactly the same way to get the transaction done as quickly and effortlessly as possible.
100%.
And that's my reel.
Well, yeah, and it couldn't be more true, mate. So it's a good point. We do work for the sellers, but more than that, we work for the deal.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
People at the start of a transaction only think about price.
Yeah.
Sellers want to sell it here, buyers want to buy it here. They don't think about the surveys, they don't think about the solicitors, they don't think about what the banks might say about the transaction. They don't think about any of that, and we're here to deal with that process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had several deals where buyer and seller are in agreement on price. Mm-hmm. I know the buyer will pay a bit more, so I get my seller more money.
Yeah.
Because that's why I charge more than other people might do, because I care. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if the price does need to be looked at or a renegotiation needs to happen, we're not just going to throw up a wall. Yeah. We need to approach that head on.
And deal with the facts. And if there was genuine issues with a survey and things need to be done, then fine, we deal with it, we negotiate. That's the whole purpose of it. But you just got to disclose the information to help them. Ultimately,
they've done a really, like you said, their first negotiation. They've done a real first-time buyer thing where they've done the survey late, mm-hmm. which kind of shows they don't really know what they're doing.
And I would never blame them for that. I blame myself for that, because I should have asked at the time.
Yeah,
but
and then
so they've done the survey late, typical first-time buyer thing. And then the way they've gone about the negotiations.
And they thought, we'll go away and we'll put it all in writing and we'll add links to stuff.
Yeah, literally.
Because then the seller will read it and think, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But it's that difference between logic and emotion.
Yeah.
The buyers might logically think, writing it down, it's all in writing, can't be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
But then you're asking for £30,000 and you expect the seller not to get emotional.
Someone's going to read the letter and go, God, yeah, I agree with every single point there. let's give them 30 grand, shall we?
The boiler is a bit old now you mention it.
The irony is, the final point on that, I'll put it back on the market. I've got 2 asking price offers, and I've told them everything that came up in the survey.
At 290?
At 290, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. But we'll try and get that sorted anyway.
So the buyers are going to lose out on potentially getting a property.
Yeah. They are. And but for them, they would have... whether they feel like they've lost out or not, because they wouldn't have paid the price they would have had to pay to get the property now, because they fundamentally believe that there are issues with the property, and there are issues, but then they're just genuine homeowner issues. Like, you get these things come up from time to time. You wouldn't buy a car, and in 50 years' time, God, something's not right with this car, but someone else needs to pay for it. Like, it's your car. Like, if something goes wrong, you fix it. Yeah. Same with the house. It's just on bigger scale.
And even if you buy a new house and you expect you're not going to have any problems with it,
you definitely will.
Probably
a lot more.
You definitely will. That snag list is not going to be short.
No.
I saw what number plate are we on now with the cars? Is it 72 plate?
Or we'll be switching. Yeah, it's 72, isn't it? It was switched to 23 in April, I think, don't they?
With the weather, obviously cars are getting dirty. I saw a 72 plate car just covered in dirt, and I thought, it doesn't stay new for very long.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Nice one.
Cool.
Right, should we wrap up with what you've been watching? Can I go first?
All right.
Because it's mountain biking.
Okay.
And you thought I was going to get all the way through this episode without talking about mountain biking, and I would like to save it right to the last minute.
There you go.
First time mentioning it. Right, little intro for the guy. Sam Pilgrim is one of the biggest names on YouTube in mountain biking. Multiple millions of... In fact, should I tell you how many subscribers he's got? Well, I'm just saying multi-millions. He has got 1.84 million subscribers as a mountain biker. Jeez. 431 million views of all time. His most watched video, where is it? Popular. His most watched video has had 40 million views.
Wow.
Yeah, big time boiler. Right, he just switched bike brands. I won't bore you with the details, but anyway, he was in somewhere in Spain, and there's I set the scene, there's a gully, like an overflow for flood water, straight down. He's on his e-bike, and he wants to try and hit 60 miles an hour on a mountain bike. So there's a full video. Conveniently though, he's also done a YouTube Shorts. Nice. So we can watch the YouTube Shorts, and then I can tell you what happens. So this is it.
Come on! Whoa! That has to be it!
So
Did he hit it?
So basically, he went down 4 or 5 times. The full video is about 15 minutes long. He topped out, I think it was something like 58.7 miles an hour.
Close.
He was gutted. But it was just such a good video. Like the whole video is just him going back up this, racing back down. He does it with his brother Louis, who's like films him and stuff. But he's just a class act.
It's so classic how he's got a Monster Energy hat in his photo.
Yeah, well he's sponsored by Monster, yeah.
Of course he is.
Mountain bikers are either Red Bull or
just one or the other,
or Monster, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my watching. Sam Pilgrim. Check him out on YouTube. He is at Sam Pilgrim.
So I've been watching. I don't have a clip. I watched the whole season of Clarkson's Farms episode, season 2.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So good.
I watched the first 2 episodes of the first season and didn't watch the rest. I might do it.
It's feel good telly.
Give us a little snippet of your favourite bit.
It's like it's filmed in the same way Top Gear is.
Yeah.
In the way Clarkson kind of narrates it, and it's lovely. His farm's near where I grew up.
Is
and
it?
It's just real like salt of the earth, like farm people.
Nice.
And the whole thing is just about him getting planning permission or refused for planning permission as it goes, whilst running his farm. So it's very
good. You're going to put a little clip on the screen?
Put a little clip on the screen.
Do your click then.
No, stop it! I'm being attacked by a cow!
Cows might get tuberculosis because of all the badgers.
You can't shoot them. Nope. Gas them. Nope. You don't just hit it with a hammer.
No, you absolutely do not just hit it with a hammer.
The guy he has helping him on the farm, Caleb is as much as a character.
Blue ticks on Instagram now.
Oh, really? Yeah, not surprised.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Excellent. So that's what I've been watching.
On Clarkson's farm, I watched the first episode when he had to go and buy a tractor, didn't he? And he bought that massive Lamborghini tractor rather than like an old snotter that he needed.
Yeah, no, and he's still got that same tractor.
Well, the Lamborghini.
They're doing a season 3 apparently as well.
Right, awesome. Yeah, it's something I want to watch. I will watch it. I just haven't got time at the moment these days. Like, I watch mountain biking videos on YouTube because I can watch. Normally, I only have like 15, 20 minutes to sit down, if at all, to watch something.
Yeah. Like
during the day or whatever. So just sticking on a video for 15 minutes on YouTube, I get a little fix from it and move on. But yeah, I've got a really good watching next week when we finish the series. But I'll tell you about it next week.
Well, speaking of next week, should we sign off and then come back?
Let's do that.
In a week's time.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we'll talk off air about when we next record, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching episode 12 of the Living Room Chat. Sorry, episode 12 is the next one. Episode 11 of the Living Room Chat podcast.
Did you notice how when Sanjay signed it off last week, he said
forgot
the Living Room podcast?
Yeah, and I was like, that's not the Living Room podcast.
And he said it, and I was like, that didn't sound right.
Yeah. Living Room Chat podcast. Yeah. Episode 11. Where can people find us?
On all social media channels, the Living Room Chat podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts now, I think. Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram.
Don't know if you noticed, I've updated our link tree, so it actually has all those links in it as well now.
Cool. Nice.
Mate, we're such a team players, aren't we? Like,
yeah, we're good.
Just work so well in unison. Amazing. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you very, very soon for episode 12. Peace out.